Hi, good morning. This is Pranav from dbsi.com. Hope you're doing good today. Today we'll talk one of the basic thing, but it is something which is a must to do for DBA, and every DBA has to do this part of their job. So let's start with that. This is to do with the access and permission. Okay. So now access and permissions are very important. When you are a DBA, you need to check the logins. You need to create the login. You need to add that as a user in the user database, and afterwards you need to grant permission based on the business requirement. Right. So now business requirement varies. It depends like which kind of application you have, whether it's a data warehouse or it is just a OLTP database. So what kind of database you are supporting. Now you can have multiple databases, user databases, and then you can have multiple logins. Now it is very difficult to handle when you have multiple database, multiple login. So it becomes a bit of difficult thing to handle the permission at the login level or at the user level. So what we do generally as a DBA is we create the roles. So when we create the roles, then what we do is we associate that user with that role, and then we grant the permission to that role instead of granting permission to the user. So suppose you have like 5 or 10 users in the database. So you handle that as at one role level. So suppose you have changed one procedure. So in that case, if the procedure was having execute permission on all these users, so in that case you grant permission to only that role, and all the user which is part of that role will get the access automatically. So this is how we handle it. Okay. So let's see this thing in our lab. One of our friend had commented in the previous YouTube video that I don't do much lab. I do more of the lecture thing. Okay. So today we'll try to do the lab and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So let's start. Okay. So this is the script that I have prepared. So we'll start with the scratch, like we'll add a login first. Okay. Then we'll create a role, right? We'll grant the role to that particular login, and then we'll grant the permission on the table in one user database, and then we'll associate that login with that role, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay. So let's start with the ISQL. Okay, so ISQL minus S is the server name, minus U is for the username, and W is for the Windows side. Okay, so put the password here, right? Now we'll go into master database. This is how we start. Generally, it will be in the master database itself. So we'll add the login first. Okay, so we'll give the login name as test login ppt, and we'll add the password as password 987, something like that, and the default database will be master database. Right now what we'll do is we'll create a role. The role name will be test db read only access. So this role will be handling only the read only permission of the objects. Now as I said earlier, this permission you can handle at multiple level. You can have one role which is having read only permission. You can have another role which will have write permission, which means you can have insert, update, delete permission, as well as you can have execute permission on the procedure. Okay. Now you can again divide them based on different databases. You can also divide them based on the roles of users in the department. You can create a role for one department. You can have another role for another department, right? So this is something which I'm talking about at the level of department. Now this is for individual. You may also do it at the level of database and application. So suppose you have an application which is used by multiple department. So in that case, you can segregate based on departments. So one department will be using one specific type of report or one specific type of module of application. So these all things you can divide, but this will be still much easier than handling at the user level. Let's see that. Okay, so this is the role creation. Okay, so this role is created. Now what we'll do is we'll grant this role to our newly created login. This is done. right? Now what we'll do is we'll go into the database where we want to associate this at the level of object. So what we'll do, we'll grant the permission of select on this table. Now how do we do that? Now what we can do is generally how I handle is select name from sys objects where type is equal to u, right? So in this you will see how many are there. You can see there are 3 objects in this database. This is only for lab purpose, but in a normal life, in a production or in your environment, there will be so many tables. So what we do, I execute them and then I put them into the Excel, and then I create a dynamic query grant select on, and then I just concatenate that with this name, which is table name, or it could be view name. I have given only u, but you can specify view for v for view. And then for the execute, what you can do is you can specify about the procedure, stored procedure. Okay, so that's how we do. So here I am just taking one example wherein I will be granting select on only one table. So this has been done. Now what we'll do is, as far as user is concerned, you can't add role to the database. You need to add the user into database, but that will be only direct user. Okay, it will not have any permission at all. So as you can see, the user has been added. Now I want to show you something. Let me log into this test instance with that login. Okay, now this is the login, right? So this is the login, this is the password. Just copy the password also. Okay, test table, test instance. So you are able to log in. Now if you want to check anything from the table, test table underscore a, do you have permission? No, you don't have, but you are still a user in the database. You can log in here, you can see the objects, but you can't select anything from this. You can select only those objects which is part of public role, right? Okay, so now what we'll do is we have come up to here. Now what we'll do, we'll add, if you see here, role is already having permission on this particular table, test table A. So anyone who is part of this role will have permission to test table A. So we'll do that. So we'll add that as a permission here. Sorry. So now this has been done. Now how do you want to verify that whether this is working or not? Okay, so what we'll do, as we have seen in the previous video, how to verify the permission. So sp underscore help protect, and we can see at the login level or at the user level. Sorry. So this will list all the object which is part of public, but we are interested in seeing only the thing which we have added. Now you see test table read only access, this is the role name, and this is the object. You can see that here, right? We can also see for that particular object, because we have seen that earlier. So we'll see sp underscore help protect with only one p, right? Test table underscore a. So if you do so, you will see that this particular role is having the read permission. So this is how we handle. Now this is something which I showed you for select. You can do exactly same thing with a different role name for insert, update and delete, right? You can also have part of the same role to have the execute permission on the procedure. Okay, now this has been done. Now we will see how to drop that thing, whatever we have done. So how to drop that. Before that, I want to show you that earlier I showed you it did not have permission. Now I want to show you that this has permission without doing anything. Sorry, we have to reconnect. It doesn't take at the runtime. Okay, so you can see this is having permission to this table now. If I want to see the other table which we saw, it will not have permission, right? Okay, so this was part of handling roles and permission at the role level. Now we want to drop this thing. Okay, so how to go about it? So we'll go into the master database. Okay, now we will revoke the role from the login that we had created earlier. That is the first step. So we had granted earlier, so now we'll revoke the role. After that, we will go into the test DB where the object is lying, to which we had granted the permission, and then we'll revoke the select permission on that particular object from the role. Right? This has been done because you cannot drop the role without removing the permission. If you do so, it will throw you error. Now we will get into the master database because roles and logins are defined at the master database. So now we'll drop this role and it should be successful. Yes, it has been done. Now drop the user because you have added that as a user here. If you see, add user, right? So now you have to drop this user before dropping the login. Let's do it so. I'm sorry, we have to be in that database. And we can do the drop login as well. Sorry, we need to close the login that we have done it here, right? Okay, now we can do so. First we have to drop the user. Okay, it has been dropped. Now we can drop the login. I guess we need to be in the master database. No, it's fine. So account is locked first and then login has been dropped. So this is how we do this creation and removal. Let's cross check whether the login has been dropped or no. So master dot sys logins where name is equal to, you can copy from here, which is test login ppt. This is the name and it's not there, right? Okay, now one more thing to note here. When you add the user here in this particular database in the test DB, you can have a different name. It need not be the same name what is there in the login. You can have your own name of the user in the database. That is absolutely fine. Okay, so what we have seen in this, we can create role, okay, and then we can associate the user with that particular role. So you can have multiple user which will be part of one role. So you will handle the access and permission at the level of role and not at the level of user. But you still need to add the user at the user database level, because if you don't add the user, it will still not work. Okay, so this was all about roles and how to grant the permission to the role and then how to drop it. Create role, create login, then drop, grant permission to the role, revoke the permission from the role, right? Then we saw how to drop the role and how to drop the login. Okay, so I hope this was something which will help you. Short video again. Okay, so just let me know in case you found it useful, and if you did so, please like and comment. Just give me your feedback like one person did earlier. I will try to incorporate as much as I could. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.